old souls, young souls, and all my damn souls in between. Welcome back to another week of Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jesse Ellie. Hey! Guys, it is popping this week. It is lit. We have a very special guest on the show. We have an entertainer, a host, a singer, maybe a little bit of a Wrestlemania fan. I don't know, but we're going to find out. Welcome to the show, Jayocity. What's popping?
What's going on?
What's good? So happy to have you here.
I'm digging that intro.
That's fun.
Thanks.
That's fire. Yeah, that was fire.
It's always freestyle, so it's like either I'm going to fuck up or it's going to be a dope intro. So like, we just wait and see.
We know it's authentic though.
It's always authentic.
There we go.
Hey. Here you go.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate a little cup up.
Little bubbly.
Little something, you know, mimosas going today, guys. But like I said, Jay is a man of many talents. He wears many hats. He does many things for the Boston city and the Boston area. He's been around for a very long time in the music scene. So if you don't know him, you got to get to know him. Yes. Jay, can you let the people know kind of what you do, where you started, and where you're from?
Oh, man. Well, we'll start where I'm from, man. I'm from, as it says, I'm a Sin City original, you know.
That's fun.
So I'm from Lynn, Massachusetts, man. Westland to be exact. You know, grew up in Neptune.
Shout out,
Palace.
Lynn.
Yeah, shout out to the whole Sin.
Yeah.
But yeah, grew up in Lynn, Mass, and just been doing my thing for a better half of 12 years now. So it's
Wow.
Yeah. It started started off with songwriting.
Yep.
Which kind of opened a few doors into the movie realm, and which is where I got my big break with Surprise Surprise, which is independent film. Yeah, independent film. You know, created, shot, and released all in Boston.
Dope.
You know, it definitely was released on 6/17, so 6/17. You know,
we like that.
Yeah, we like that. You know, little marketing employees and everything.
You know.
So yeah, it was I've been doing that for just been on the scene for many years and kind of just, you know, honing my own skills and try to break down doors for artists and entertainers alike.
That's what we love to hear.
Definitely.
And, you know, because the first things that you mentioned are acting and music.
Yes.
Was there like a first love between the two that you dove into?
Music, hands down.
He's an R&B singer, guys. I'm sorry. I just got to say, he's got a dope voice, dope vibe.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And where did that passion of music come from for you?
Oh, it starts in the home, man. Like every Saturday morning, you know, Mom Dukes will put on the records, the cassette tapes, you know.
Did you just age yourself?
No.
If anyone listening in don't know what a cassette tape is, turn this off or watch my last 60 episodes so you can learn something, all right?
Cassette tapes, look, I go back to the era where you have to like listen to the radio, and the radio wasn't just repeating the same 12 songs.
Nah.
You listen to the radio and that song come on, you hit the little red button and play so you can record your song.
Fags.
You know what I mean? So like, yeah, Mom Dukes used to throw on the radio every Saturday morning. We get up early, has to clean the house, and she used to play a lot of these old songs in which I'm like, oh God, like, why am I listening to the Temptations right now? Why am I hearing Anita Baker? And I used to get so like aggravated.
How about the Isley Brothers?
Everything. When I tell you everything, and it's funny, like the OJs, because now I love all that music.
Yes.
Like my favorite artist is Stevie Wonder.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that old
favorite.
soul, old school?
Yeah.
Love that.
Singer-songwriter, like.
You want to whip out a line or what? Sorry, I won't make you sing on air.
We can do something. Well, I'll wait a little later. You know what I mean? But Stevie was like my favorite artist. And that kind of started my love and my passion for music.
Yeah.
Like my mom would sing around the house. You know, she got a good voice. I won't tell her that in person. We have this little running gag. We joke on each other. We go to karaoke and be like, why are you whining?
Oh my gosh. So your mom sings too?
She sings. My father got a little voice.
Okay.
You know, my uncle Courtney, he be hitting high notes. Like,
for real?
Like, yeah, his range is ridiculous.
He's a soprano type?
Yeah. He's like ridiculous. And but he don't look like it. He's like, look like a gruff dude. Like, he like, that ain't coming from you.
That's where the most soul comes from sometimes, so you already know.
Yeah, we have fun with it. So it's definitely a musical family, man. You know, my brothers and, you know, some of my sisters, you know, we all intertwined in the music world. So music definitely is my first love. And like you said, R&B, soul.
Yes. And I'm a big R&B hip hop, soul fan. So you already know, like moving, you know, being in Lynn, going to the Boston scene, I feel like Boston is a little more hip hoppy and kind of always has been, like rap hip hop.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you were growing up and you were getting into like doing shows or open mics or whatever it may be, how did you kind of move into the Boston scene with your hip hop and R&B? Were you booking shows with people? Were you doing features?
You know what it was? Like, I was more of the guy that everyone knew, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But no one knew I could sing.
He's like, let me whip out my secret ace card on y'all.
You know, so no one really knew I could sing until my high school graduation. It was
Wait, what? You sang at your high school graduation?
I did. It was a surprise.
Ballsy.
It was a surprise for everyone.
Okay.
So, but I didn't want to do it alone. So I called a good friend of mine. He's actually a brother, man. He's a well-known choreographer. You know, he goes by D. Deli. So Devin Woolridge, if you guys ever heard of Funk Phenomenon. And
yeah, hell yeah. He started Funk, right?
Yeah.
One of the founders,
he's over there. But yeah, so I was like, I went to him because I know he got a little voice, you know what I mean? He could carry a note. But everyone knew him from his dances. So like me and Devin grew up since we was like 2 years.
Y'all both surprised everybody.
Yeah, so I was like, yo, bro, like I need you for this one. And he's like, what are we doing? Like, we gotta do a little boys and man, so hard to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And I was like, I convinced our instructor to let us
I bet everyone was crying.
It was so funny. So it was Captain Ganem on anchor on both sides of the stage. And they're like, what do they do? You know, it gets all quiet, you hear people talking, what are you doing up there? What? You know, people want to graduate too. Like, what's about to happen? And you kind of just start off with the first note, and everyone's like, oh, shh. And they hear it, and the girls start going crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like that kind of put the little battery in my back.
That's
you know what I mean?
dope.
But yeah, so but just to navigate from there, I went to college, man, and I went to Fisher College, and never really sung like that at college, because like you said, once you're in Boston, it's kind of like a...
Yeah.
I mean,
you gotta know to know. If you know, you know around here.
You know,
but
so it was but for me it was just, you know what I mean, I always like to put bars together too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was just like always like at Fisher, you try to battle rap and stuff like that. You
really?
fun.
It was like that there?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Fisher too much.
So, Fisher's a small private school, man. Like, and I will say it is probably the best accident I ever stepped into.
Really? What did you get from Fisher that you felt like, you know, that you could use to go forward in your craft?
Everything. So
that's real.
I tell you about Fisher, I never looked at the school. Like they came to my high school, did one of those on the spot acceptance days, and you know, I had the grades to get right in.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking about it because schools that I had applied to, I got into, but it was more of a financial situation.
Yeah.
And then financially, it didn't work out for a lot of schools, and then one of the schools I was looking at was Clark Atlanta.
Okay.
And then I had the same high school teacher who told me I should look at it told me you don't want to go there because they might lose their accreditation.
Oh, snap.
Yeah,
wow.
So I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. So it was never that school though. It was always Morris Brown, which was the school highlighted in Drumline.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was
so did you pursue music while at school?
At Fisher, no, I studied business management. Man.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
Yeah. So like I went to a trade school in high school, and we studied business there. So it was kind of like always following that trend.
Oh.
But yeah, at Fisher, I just kind of walked in. It used to be an all-girls school, so I was like, okay, check mark right there.
Facts.
The ratio's good, but it was very diverse too. I walked in, and my high school was bigger than Fisher.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was so diverse. You see, Spanish, Black, and a couple of white people, transfer students from Japan. When I sit here and tell you the fashion that a lot of people follow now, like they was able to bring back over to us like after winter breaks.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah, it was like, we was ahead of the curve at Fisher, man. But a lot of it was like factored around music too. So it was, I remember I came back for my junior year, and it's just like these young boys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they used to call me Jigga. Funny enough, had nothing to do because I was rhyming.
I was like, wait. Okay, Jay-Z. Okay.
They used to call me Jigga. And like I'll never forget my boy Impala. Shout out to him and my whole Hustle Squad family. But yeah, he was like, I want to battle you. I heard him battle. I had him battling. I was like, bro, your bars like you choking. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
He was like, I want to battle you. And so I didn't take him serious, right? So I was like, all right, yeah, whatever, we'll set it up.
But that one day came.
Yeah,
when there was a rap battle.
That day came. I was like, oh, he was serious. Like, so I didn't write nothing.
Oh shit! You have to have your 16 bars ready every time.
No, I didn't write nothing. I didn't like nothing. Like I was like, oh, so and then you get the crowd of people now, so it's just like.
Yeah.
So I went completely off the top.
That's dope. In that moments like that, situations like how you said it was a happy accident that you went to Fisher and stuff like that. It's like the things you don't expect are sometimes the things that push you forward. In those challenges, they help you grow. It's like even when you're on the spot, you don't have anything prepared, but you whip something out. I bet it was still fire.
Yo, I won.
See, I knew it. I knew it.
So like him and I, like it's I will say that it'll go down in Fisher history. Like we've had 3 battles. I beat him twice clearly. The third one we call the tie, maybe. Nah, the third one's debatable, but like I will say, like just based off his progress and his growth from it, like I definitely get that to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I will say it was crazy. Like that third battle was like advertised. Like people would people would hang up flyers. I'm like, yo.
Oh damn, that's serious.
Yeah, I came out of an 8 o'clock class.
I was gonna say, what?
People like, you ready? I'm like, yo, it's 8 o'clock, bro. Like,
in the hall's like, yo, you going?
Yeah, like, yo, you should have seen that. I came out of one class and they was like, yo, he's waiting for you. I'm like, bro, I'm about to get something to eat.
Like you about to get jumped or something? Like, no, we just having a rap battle.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But I walked in there like it's like Fisher was, like I said, so small, man. But
yeah.
The cafeteria was filled, and the cafeteria like had those dividing walls, which was opened up for whatever reason.
Oh my gosh, so serious! It's like a movie.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So we walk in there, I'm like, professors in there. I'm like, don't you go to class? Like,
for real.
You know? But it was good, man. And that's what made my time at Fisher like definitely like highlighted, and you know, just walking into it is just. Serendipity is the perfect word to sum it up, and it's just like you know, happy accidents. Like you don't think it's meant for you, but you take that chance, you take a risk, and from there anything's possible. And I think that's what kind of like helped me hop onto the Boston scene. You know what I mean? I started getting more known for doing events and things in Boston before Lynn.
Yeah, and you were doing shows. I'm gonna mess up the name probably. I think it was Chill Hip Hop and Chill. Am I right?
So R&B and Chill.
R&B and Chill, excuse me.
Yeah, so R&B and Chill was a radio program on Spark FM Online, which is hosted.
Shout out Spark FM.
Yes.
Shout out Miss Hot Sauce.
Definitely. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to Miss Remy in the City.
Yes.
Because that is her platform, so I want to give her
shout out, girl.
flowers for that, man. But yeah, it started off with Remy in the City, and she came to me. I used to. Like, girl, you need to get back and do radio. Because she used to do radio back in the day. And I was like, you need to get back and do radio. I used to bug her for years.
Yeah.
So she finally came to me one day. She's like, I'm doing it.
I'm
going to do an R&B show. I'm doing it. Yeah. And so we would always talk. And she was like, I want you to come on at least once a week as a contributor. And that kind of turned to like, oh, you should co-host with me on.
Well, you have a radio voice. I was going to ask you that. Like, I know you've done some podcasting and stuff, but you do have like this particular radio voice, I feel like.
Thank you. Thank you.
Got you.
Yeah, came up and did R&B and show. Started as a contributor, and then went to Wednesday night co-host, and then they threw me on Wednesday and Thursday nights where we was on there together.
Hey.
And yeah, we were building brands, man. It was something remarkable. All R&B music.
Yeah.
More importantly, we was highlighting artists from the area as well.
Local like R&B artists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, it's crazy. Like the amount of talent that would be played on air, and then like you have other artists. Like I would travel down to Atlanta and other places, LA, and make connections. They'll be like, yo, send me your stuff.
That's fire.
Introduce you to the East Coast or up north. You know what I mean? So shout outs to that. R&B and Chill on the platform. I know since she's now taking that and she's doing like a R&B and Vibe show, which is like a live podcast and thing.
Okay.
And I think she just rebranded and relaunched. But
shout out, that's fire.
Yeah, shout out to her and kudos to everything that she's doing. Wish her nothing but the best.
Yes.
Sure.
And like we said, you have multiple hats, you do multiple things.
Yes.
So from, the music scene and getting to know people and networking and all that, you said that you landed a role in a movie called Surprise, Surprise, which is out now. It's an Amazon Prime original. Make sure you go check that out.
Yes.
But could you tell us a little bit about like how you got into that? Because, going through school and everything you said, like you didn't talk about taking acting classes or anything like that. Was it also a happy accident or like serendipity?
So I will say like the nature of it. Yes, to answer your question right away.
I love that word serendipity, by the way. So when you brought that up, I was like, oh, I got to play it back. I got to bring it back.
But yeah, so I would say like I've always just been, a personality, to say the least. Even when I was in like high school and in my early years of college, like I know my brother, You know, his boy, they went to a school that's no longer there called AI New England.
Oh, yeah, AI. Yeah, oh, my gosh. All I used to hear growing up was, like, AI commercials. Like, wow.
So they went to AI New England, and it kind of, they used to do a sketch comedy show called The Block.
Okay.
And so they was like, you have to do the show. Like, there's no way, you're a nut. Like, and my brother used to be like, just do it, man. Like, what are you doing? Like,
what do you got to lose?
Yeah, it's on a Sunday, you're not doing nothing. So yeah, it's funny. So I started doing the sketch comedy show called The Block, and you know, we would write skits, and a lot of it was improvised. To be honest with you, like when it came to our script, we just had bullet points. Like that was it. Like were there certain characters you guys had? Yeah, so it was like for a lot of characters. So I ended up doing Barack Obama one time.
Oh my gosh,
which was unique.
Can you do that? Can you do the voice? Like, I have to ask.
Oh, no, I was a terrible Barack Obama. But I was terrible, but it was if I could try to... Nah, I'm even going to do it.
Do like one line.
My fellow Americans. No. Yo,
that was enough. That was good enough for me there.
But it was crazy. So, like, we do a bunch of characters, like... Me and my brother used to do like American Idol contests. We used to,
yeah, like spoof video type thing.
Spoof,
got
like,
you.
It was just like American Idol. We was like two rappers who just went up there.
That's funny.
There was so many different skits that we had on there. I played a rapper called Smutty Wallins.
Smutty Wallins.
Yeah, and I would have the, take the tinfoil, put it on there,
got the grills.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. But that was it. You tap into your creative side.
Yeah. See, like if you had that out right now, if you guys were still making that show would probably go viral. People love that on like TikTok, YouTube, all those spoof skits. Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to make sure none of them was released, man, because I got to think of in today's climate, it would probably be a little bit,
for what we was doing. Times have changed in media, so you already know.
But honestly, it was fun times, man. We had a solid cast, solid crew, still cool with a lot of them. I should say all of them, pretty much. But yeah, we did that, and that lasted for about a year and a half, and doing local access television, got it out in Lynn and in Boston.
Oh, you were doing through access television stations.
Yeah, so we did it. So we would do it at AI New England. We would film there. We would build the set. Like, that was another thing. Like we would build the set.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work, isn't it?
A lot of work.
Everyone listening in, I just put like a video on my Instagram of us like taking down the set. You guys see it here, but like as you know, behind the scenes shit. That's the stuff nobody gets to see and nobody knows about. But there's a lot of work that goes behind it.
We would do anywhere from 8 to 12 hour shoot days on Sundays, changing the sets in between.
Yeah.
Giving people, and it's crazy because now like we would just build sketches on the spot. We'd be like, yo, this would be a good. Let's
next. Do it. Yeah.
What do we have to do with the set to make it work?
Yeah.
And so we would build it out, man. It was awesome, man. Like to have that creativity.
That's pretty dope that it wasn't so like pre-planned or pre-prepared to the point where you guys were like stressing or something. Like it was still fun while you're creating it.
Yeah, I would say one of our most iconic sketches. That's probably we use it as a blooper reel, but it's like to me it's still the funniest thing. Came out of not having a script. Shout out to Dan McCready, man. So it was
shout out.
Yeah, it was one of those where. It was a long day. On long days you can get agitated and things of that nature. And we wanted to do this one specific sketch, and we're like, all right, what's the script at?
Oh man.
They always like, bullet points. All right, what's the script?
Yeah.
And there was no script. And when I tell you, Dan went into, so he was in the church.
Oh man.
And Dan took his piece of paper and he went up to the pulpit. He's like, I want to give you a testimony about this thing called the script. It gives you directions on what to say, what to do. Can I get a hallelujah? And we went into it like a full-blown tangent. Like, man, watching it back on playback, like, we literally had like tears in our eyes because it was so funny. We were like, you got to release this.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
But did that, and that kind of opened up the doors of acting shops, and I was firmly focused on my songwriting.
Okay.
So I was working with a friend of mine who's now based out of Philly. But, he had some plugs to Genuine and Usher and stuff like that. And so he was writing some music in which I was like, hey, if they don't take it, I could throw it on my debut project.
Right, exactly. Like one or the other.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, but it was crazy. So I was writing for that. And my brother reached out to me. He was like, hey, doing this movie And we have, at the time, I believe her name is Maya Gilbert, who at the time was dating Eddie Murphy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was like, we just sent her the paperwork. She verbally agreed. We just need her to sign off.
Wow.
Doing the project. We have a small role for you, but we'd love for you to audition. So I'm like, if it's for me, why would I need to audition?
Yeah.
It's like, nah, it's just, you got to go through it, man.
The legality of it, you know.
He's like, we want to make sure it's the right fit for you,
Right.
So I was like, all right, let me know. So they gave me the date, which was probably like a month out. And within that month, I never knew my brother dropped from the project.
Your brother dropped out from the project?
Yeah, he dropped out. So he was one of the...
he brought you in and then he was out.
Yeah.
Oh,
he created the
okay.
idea for the movie.
Gotcha.
Crosby ended up doing the writing for it. But yeah, so I went to audition and, I auditioned for that role and, shout out to Crosby Tatum and Opal Thompson.
Shout out.
Yes, definitely. And so, Crosby's just like, hey, you should audition for this other role. This is kind of a bigger role, but I'll be reading lines with you. We'll see how it goes. So I'm like, all right. I was like, I didn't know what the other role was. I'm just like, okay.
Right.
So I'm doing lines, and they was like, all right, yeah, we'll be in contact, for sure. So
and this is a first for you, right? Like you didn't read lines or do scripts before.
No, the only
because like you said, it was right, yeah.
It was
which is not a script. That's a list.
No, it was just like make sure you hit this mark,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. And so I ended up leaving there and was getting back to the studio and doing work and. Got a call a few weeks later like, hey, we want to offer you the role of Jay in Surprise, Surprise.
Ooh.
So I was like, great, who's Jay? Who's Jay? And they're like, what's his role? They was like, yeah, let's just say you're like the number 2 lead.
What?
I was like...
So you went from a small part to a number 2 lead in like a matter of a week with no experience.
Exactly. So I was like...
That's fire.
I'm like, all right, all right, cool. I guess. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, that sounds cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So meet the full cast and you start doing table reads and I'm like, I'm lost. So I start improvising. They're like, no, stick to the script. Don't improvise too much kind of because you gotta, your cue is, based off the script a lot of times.
Right.
Until you guys can build some synergy.
Was that a difficult transition for you to actually learn how to be memorizing, reading the scripts and working back and forth with other actors?
It was a huge challenge because again, I'm more of an improv, kind of guy and wing it. But the one thing I was able to learn, I think the toughest part about it was learning how to bring a character to life. And it's a character that you have to bring to life. They can tell you a shell of the character, but you have to make the character.
Right. And you can read those lines over and over, but if you're not making the accent or the emotions, the facial expressions, it don't matter because and that's what people don't understand. Acting it's way more than what you see as the final product. So much goes into it. Embodying the character.
Yeah, so it was one of those where I was just like, all right, reading the character description, Jay is the smooth best friend of
was this
Crosby.
name really Jay? So you were Jay playing Jay?
Pretty much, right? So
it was meant for you.
yeah, right. So but they call my brother Jay too. So it was.
Okay.
But they was just reading his character description. It was just he's the smooth ladies man who who kind of has befriends a nerdy guy and they're roommates and stuff like that and he kind of has to elevate this guy's status to help him out. And so I was just like, if anyone knows me, like I said, I'm not a ladies' man. I'm not a you know what I mean? Not a flirt or anything.
I'm like,
Wow, nah. But like I said, I'm someone who's gonna. If we're in a circle of people, I want to make everyone feel included in that circle.
Yeah, you a gentleman.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I feel it.
I want to make sure everyone's comfortable. But to kind of play that that ladies' man part,
you had to step outside of yourself.
I'm out of orbit with that.
Yeah,
man. I'm like, oh, she doesn't laugh. Right? What happens now? I'm like, abort mission, abort.
Facts.
You know what I mean? But just kind of doing that, man, and learning how to bring that character to life. So everything was dialect on every word. You know, trying different emotions from each line. And then when you read lines with the people who are involved in those scenes, because a lot of them are seasoned actors and actresses. And so you kind of try to take tidbits from them and,
And you have to play off each other's energy too. Like it can't all just be you. You got to be reacting, to how they speak. Yeah, the chemistry.
A lot of chemistry. Like it took time for us. We would just go out to, whether it's have a coffee, go get something to eat.
Right.
If we're out in a social environment, and kind of seeing how one another are.
Yeah.
And that helped tremendously. Because when the lights came on and action.
Then it was natural.
Yeah,
That's dope.
It was such a good look, man. And we filmed over the course of 18 months.
And where was this filmed?
In Boston. Right?
In Boston?
In Boston. So we did a scene at Fisher College.
What? That's like a 360.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It was like, you want to do a what here? I was like, yeah, I'm doing a movie. And it was like, open the doors.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Bring in our alumni.
Yeah. So can we write a story about this? Like, yes, you can. Like,
bring in the reporters.
So we did scenes at Fisher College up and down Huntington Avenue.
Okay.
There was a few scenes just at Game On Boston, which is another connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so we filmed at a lot of different noticeable places around the city. And we definitely shot guerrilla style.
Hey.
So it was, for those who don't know, that just means don't get caught by the police.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
You know what I mean?
You gotta do it sometimes,
Yeah, you gotta do it.
That's how you do it.
You know what I mean? But yeah, we shot a lot of that film, and it was a great experience. It was a trying experience at the same time,
Definitely.
and a definitely experience to learn from. However, like I just loved the cast and crew that was there with us, and
it's a huge opportunity too for like networking and opening new doors for yourself, because at that point, like you were still transitioning and finding your career. I feel like so it's like taking a chance, taking a risk, and doing something that you had never done. Like I feel like I bet it gave you some type of confidence with yourself, to trust yourself, to be like, yo, I don't have to be boxed in or labeled to just be like doing, R&B or doing this or doing that. Like you can kind of do anything,
Yeah, I want to say the biggest challenge came after filming.
Wow, why?
Because when you're an independent film, you're like, all right,
where do I go from here?
Yeah, how do we get it out to the masses? You know what I mean? So like I ended up receiving a producer credit. Definitely had the
much
music.
Deserved.
Yes, music supervisor for the project, and so it was just like, all right.
You did the whole soundtrack you had mentioned, right?
Yes, did the soundtrack. Executives produced the soundtrack. Was able to get artists on with Crosby, Tatum, and so we just had the idea. We was like, all right, look, how can we bring more awareness to it? For one, we want to make sure that the city is on it, so we're gonna have to get artists from the city.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And when we met from the city, I meant Lynn. He meant Boston.
Bring your people up with you.
Yeah,
right.
So that's what it was. We was just like, yo, submit songs, and we'll make sure it's not only on the soundtrack, but in the movie.
Wow.
We will find a way to incorporate it in the movie.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so we were able to do that, and it was just like, all right, what now?
Yeah.
We have all these songs, what do we do? I was like, soundtrack. He was like, oh, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, you do the soundtrack, you release the soundtrack first, build some buzz, buzz around the movie, and it just reminded me, like, growing up listening to all the classic soundtracks, so like the Boomerang soundtrack.
And did you incorporate that? Did you try to incorporate like music you would listen to and your love for like R&B in the soundtrack, or was it kind of
definitely R&B artists, hip hop, and it has to fit the scene. So like when you sit there and watch playback, you're like, all right, this song should go with this scene. And you relate to artists like, hey, if it's a specifically original content for this movie, then this is the scene that you want to write for. I can help you write. You know what I mean? You kind of want to get that tidbit in there. And that's what we did, man. It kind of built out a project.
And like, I just have to ask, like, how did it get to Amazon Prime level? Because that's pretty crazy.
So it's so shout out to Crosby. He had someone on hand because he had did some work previously. He was able to find a distributor in Maverick Entertainment, which is they support a lot of independent projects.
Yeah.
Him and I had a little tiff over that because I had a few people that I had talked to. I was like, look, you'll never guess who's interested in the project. He's like, who? I'm like, Boris Cujo's manager. Like,
oh, snap.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Like we used to go back and forth because I would like, just Facebook and use the social media, and family, like my family knew some people, so they plugged us in and they would see the trailer and they're like, what are you guys doing with it?
Right.
And the craziest thing, there's this now television station, which is real known as Bounce TV. And it's on like Verizon Files and stuff like that. But back then it was little known about it. I didn't even know about Bounce Television. But they were the second largest African-American owned television station behind BET at the time. And it was just like, they were talking about, we can Yeah, the person I was talking, well, we can get that up there and do a Friday premiere. And
what?
Yeah, so I'm hearing premiere Friday.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Television, like,
right.
Forget that distributor, come on.
For real, yeah.
But it was Crosby's project, and he was just like, he signed a contract, and which got us into Walmart.
Wow.
Yeah, we was in Walmart and stuff like that. And then kind of just took off from there.
Yeah.
Like, it was so funny just like planning the release party, right? So it was I'll be transparent. The first time we tried to do a viewing for Surprise Surprise, the film was not ready.
What?
Yeah.
How are you guys gonna plan a whole viewing without a film?
Listen, so
that's reckless.
We thought it was done. We was like, hey, all right, we're gonna do a viewing for it, kind of get people's feedback. Like, he was like, oh, I can be done with it by this date. So we're like, okay. Like, we mean done editing, like post.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. So I'm like, all right. He's like, I'm gonna book the venue. I'm like, okay. Right. So what do we need to do? He's like, just show up. Okay, yeah.
Like, sounds good.
Yeah,
smooth enough.
So
like,
we're at the Kenmore Theater in Cambridge and everything. Got red carpet, like limos. Everyone's pulling up. We got cameras.
VIP event, red carpet shit.
Coming out, click.
Damn.
Like, this is
official.
Yeah. 6:30 come around. I'm like.
Like, we starting this film or?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Get a call. You around somebody? Yeah. I need you to step away real quick. What's going on? Yo, where you at? Everyone's asking for you, bro. Like, I'm still editing the movie. What?
Oh my.
So he's like, I need you to cover for me. And I'm like,
that's horrible.
So everyone's looking at me.
You got me anxious right now. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, so everyone's looking at me because everyone's like, well, it's you guys' movie. And I'm like, technically it's his movie, but like I've done so much with it. Like, I've done so much with it with promo, and we're doing press releases and press runs.
Yeah.
So everyone automatically assumes it's like it's our movie. So I'm like, all right, I gotta
kind of looks bad on you too a little bit.
Because my name's attached to it.
Right.
And I'll never forget. And this was really like this.
Did you sing for everybody again?
No. So we did interviews and stuff. And by the time he had got there, we could only run the movie for 45 minutes. People had paid tickets, right?
Oh my gosh, that's so bad.
And so the theater comes up to me. I'm like, oh, you need to speak to him. They was like, no. We need to speak to you because it seems like you're the guy everyone knows. So I'm like, okay.
You're like, I'm not the man in charge, but okay.
Yeah, they're like, so we're going to hard stop in 45 minutes. By law, we have to play this next movie. I'm like, well, how many people bought tickets for this next movie? They was like, no one, but we have to play it by law.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay. So I go down and I tell him. He's looking at me. He's like, "Can we do anything?" I'm like, "No, we can't. Like,
not at that point.
We could have started on time."
Right.
So movie gets cut halfway through, and he makes up something on the spot, like, "Hey, this is just a trial version, and everyone get your money back, and make sure you guys come to the actual release, and we'll make sure you get free copies of the movie."
Oh no!
So I'm pissed. I'm super pissed. And what made me even more upset about it is I had a friend of mine who I worked with at Fenway. He was more on the Aramark food vendor side.
Okay, gotcha.
But his son, his nephew is a music producer who works with one half of Sean and Cadis, who doesn't work with Chris Brown.
And they were there? They came?
He wasn't there. So Sean and Cadis, he knew about my music side, so he'd always kind of reference it. He was like, but he found out I was doing a movie because I invited him, and he was just like, he showed me this text message. And his text message was just like, hey, got pulled into a meeting. Unfortunately, I can't make it tonight. Please let me know about the film if we should move forward with reaching out. And it was an exec from Columbia Pictures.
Oh, my heart. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for you. So, I mean, everything works out how it's supposed to, though. So let me say that. But
it worked out to the fact that he didn't come, because if he had made it, there's no way we would have a name like we couldn't step foot in anywhere in Hollywood. Like,
facts.
And he was just like, what happened? And I was like, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. He was like, I understand it's not your film. He's like, but the one thing you always have to realize is, like, if your name's attached to it and you're going out making these runs with presses and everything, you got to take the good with the bad.
Exactly.
And I was like, I fully understand that.
Yeah.
And he was just like, that's just one thing. He's like, so someone up there is watching over you because he was scheduled to come tonight.
Facts.
And I was like, and from there, it was just like, that changed my whole outlook on on entertainment and business and how I conduct myself and make sure, like, even when it comes to my name and my brand, like, hey, make sure everything is lined up before you promote it. Your obligation technically ended when you completed the film.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's a great lesson for yourself and for anybody listening in, because, you know, being an artist and trying to come up and build your name and build your brand, you do have to network and work with different people. But you also have to be responsible for your content, for your name, for your image. Like, even for me, like with the show, like, be careful what I'm saying on the show, who I have on the show, reputation-wise. You feel me? Because you're trying to put something out there to the people and you want to make sure that you look good, you know, and your name looks good if it's on it, even if it's not your fault and you're not the head one. But
exactly,
it's always a lesson.
Yeah, you're attached to it. And it was one of those where it was a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah.
Because, you know, then we went back to the drawing board and it was just like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, get the movie edited first. Mm-hmm. We're all going to watch it. Make sure it's edited properly. And then we're going to actually have a plan on how to roll this thing out.
Yeah.
And luckily Crosby had signed the distribution contract, because it probably could have been pulled had they found out and he didn't sign, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So like we said, it kind of was a happy accident in a way, because it did work out how it was meant to work out in the end.
It worked out. And we learned, and, you know, the film was done. It was like, all right, now, like, how do we market it? How do we get it out there? We needed an event space. We're like, he's like, yeah, we're going to, June 17th is the release date, and we're going to put it out there.
Yep.
All right, where are we throwing this party at?
Right.
You know, it's up to me, because I'm like, he doesn't have a venue for this party. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to Opal, who's like a big sis. We looked at each other.
Shout out Opal.
Yeah. And she looked at me, she was like, you know he don't have a venue, right? And so we like working alongside Crosby. Crosby's a brilliant mind, man, and you know, he's real active dude, and his mind runs a mile a minute. However, at times it's one of those, like, that's where you need your team.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because if your mind's always running a mile a minute, you miss the small details sometimes. So you got to get other people to cover those, you know, mishaps.
It's always good to have a team around you, because what you may be blind to, they're not. And so, like, that's why I always say I hate the term having a circle of friends. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because if I'm looking this way, I can't tell who's at my back and what they're doing.
Exactly.
I believe that if I have friends, I need to have a line of friends, because if I'm facing that line, even if someone is out of place, you can tell.
That's a real gem. I like that.
You know what I mean? And so it's, and that's how we, you know, Crosby, myself, Opal, that's how we worked. It was just like, hey, we got to cover each other's blind spots.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm so ambitious that I want to just, like, when I get passionate about something, it's like, we got to go this route, this route. Like, it's fresh. We got to do it now. And Crosby had the wherewithal to be like, sit, wait. Mm-hmm. Like, this may not be the best deal in the short term, but long term and for longevity of the project, it's going to be the best. Yep. You know, and so that's what happened. And so we ended up getting that national release date. And just so happened that we needed a venue. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to get into doing artist showcases. Okay. You know what I mean? And I was like, we have so much talent here and no one knows. I used to get so frustrated. Like, there's no reason, like, do you know Bobby Brown's from here and New Edition? We don't get no respect in music.
Real.
Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So which, actually, I think you've performed with New Edition before.
I don't know. We don't go that far.
No?
We don't go that far.
Oh, man. All right. I had to pull it out.
I mean, not on the record.
Fine.
So I did meet Belle Biv DeVoe. And it was more of a impromptu kind of thing.
Okay, got you.
So, like, shout out to Louis Bello. Louis did something.
Shout out Louis.
So Louis, you know, for a point in time, I used to book musical acts on Jersey Street before the Red Sox games. Yeah. And I had Louis out there one day, and, you know, I was with Belle Biv DeVoe. And we're taking him around, and Louis makes contact. He sees Belle Biv DeVoe, cuts his set, goes into acoustic
locks eyes from across the crowd, like
cuts like dead stops his song. Whispers something, acoustic version of Poison, to the point where they stopped. They were supposed to go.
Yo, that's fire. Such a good move on Louis' part.
So they were supposed to go do an interview on Nesson, and they stopped. They was like, hold up, let's go over here and see what's happening.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, they started doing, like, it's driving me.
Yes.
And so Ricky Bell takes him, like, he starts performing. Mm-hmm. And they start cutting in the verse. Like, they perform Poison acoustically. Like,
and I'm sorry, if you don't know Louis Bello in Boston, go check out Louis Bello. He's
and Lisa,
fire.
Like,
check out Lisa, she's fire.
You know what I mean? But, so, yeah, impromptu.
Wow.
Like,
see the coincidences that you don't expect sometimes.
Nah,
like,
so it's one of those, like, Louis gets it, tosses the mic, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, let's sing with him, like, all right, like, get back, cut it back real quick, like. Fire. So, but anywho, so gets me back to, like, I want to do artist showcases because we have so much talent in this area and it doesn't get highlighted. And mainly I wanted to highlight R&B because, like, although hip hop in a lot of spaces is like blacklisted, we understand that. I feel like R&B is never listed anywhere because it's not a platform where it's performed at. Old so young world. Yeah.
You already know.
And so it's crazy. I went over to a former coworker of mine who at the time worked at the House of Blues and kind of pitched that idea. And I was like, hey, you know, I didn't want to do the foundation room. You know what I mean? I wanted to do the bar because it's street side.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I want people like to hear music and be like, what's going on in there?
Yeah.
And be able to have access.
A little more, accessible.
You know what I mean? It was a smaller capacity space. It holds about 130 people.
Okay.
And he was like, what's your kickoff event? I was like, well, I have a movie coming out. And he's like, time out. He's like, you can't say it all.
Wait.
Yeah.
What?
He's like, you can't say it all casual. He's like,
you're all humble.
Yeah, he's like, you still work over there. Like, when did you shoot a movie? So I was like, it's an independent movie and everything. And gave him the rundown. He was just like, and it's nationally going to be released? I was like, yeah. And he was just like,
perfect.
Fully distributed. I was like, yeah. And he was just like, you're not using this bar here. He's like, I'm moving you up to the foundation room.
Hey.
He was like, that's 250 people, nice. I was like, no, I want to do it. He's like, look, you either do it in the foundation room or you don't do it at all.
Yes, yep. That's
like,
dope.
I was like, I'll do it in the foundation room. So now I'm like, oh man, like 30 days out from the release, like.
Kind of like pressure to make it great.
Like 250 people, what are we going to
like, everyone invite your moms, your aunties, uncles, cousins. Like, we need them all.
So the first thing he was like, all right, so definitely inviting every artist on the soundtrack. And what we're going to do, we're going to add 6 additional bonus songs because at that time the soundtrack had been out for a while.
That's smart.
So we did a deluxe version, added some few songs on it, featured some new artists, and kind of invited them to perform.
Yep.
And I told people, I was like, hey, this is not going to be your typical kind of night. Like, you got to dress to the nines. Like, you got to be dressed up.
Yeah. Suit and tie event.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to tell them so much suit and tie, but I was like, it's a movie release.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You know, you can have a red carpet. You can have a red carpet. You can have a step and repeat. Like, you know, I was like, and it's just for the space that we're in. We're not casually known to be in spaces like this. You know, and it's not saying that it was never inviting, but I don't think anyone tried to, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
It does.
So to everyone's credit, they came dressed to the nines. We had like artists, hip hop artists, Desert Fleet, like hip hop artists in tuxes.
Oh my gosh!
In suits, white
I love
suits,
that.
like performing in white suits. Like, oh man, it was crazy.
So
like,
classy.
Yeah,
love that.
so everyone came up there. You know, shouts to Ray Royale.
Hey.
You know, my boy, that's a bro right there. But Ray, like that was my actual first time like hearing Ray live. Like,
and how was it?
Yeah, Ray's he's a professional. He's a professional, you know what I mean? So like he used to be part of Metro City, who you know had a deal, and they used to be signed with Keisha Cole and for a point in time too. Him and Cyrus the Shield. But yeah, so like I had Ray, and Ray had came up. I heard a lot of his stuff. So I'm like,
some big names in the room.
Yeah, so like, we joke a lot to this day. Anytime like I call Ray, I'm like, yo, Ray, I got a show. He's like, put me on. I want on. And me and Ray have this long running thing where like we'll have a sing off.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You and your rap battles and your sing-offs.
Yeah, well,
like,
sing-offs,
look at you.
I take sing-offs serious. You know, so it's like, and knowing Ray, like knowing it, like he's like an encyclopedia of R&B. I call myself the R&B Connoisseur. You know what I mean? So like we always like just go back and forth. So I'd be like, Ray, you might have got last time. I got this time. We put it on for the crowd, and like you know, and his biggest thing about his show, like his engagement with the fans in the room, like, especially the women, of course. And like he'll call one up and serenade them. I'm like, I can't do that, right? You know what I mean? So
that's how you do it, though. You get the people involved.
Yeah,
you know,
but it's an entertainment factor.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Because I like a lot of all my artist showcases I host.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a dynamic in which you don't want to be like come into the stage next.
Right.
You know, you want to have those engagements and make people feel welcome, make the artists feel welcome, loosen them up.
Right.
And so like Ray is someone who's like a classic person I can just try to throw him a curveball.
I feel like you guys need to sing off soon. We got to see that.
Oh, we gonna have
we
one.
need like a recent. We need a one in the future.
Oh, we
very
gonna
soon.
have one. You know what I mean? I did a little Usher one time, and
okay.
He wanted to pull out.
Well, gotta let it burn. What'd you do?
No,
what we got?
I did nice and slow. You know
Ooh,
what I mean?
okay.
Yeah, no sunshine.
Okay.
Did a little something, but then I hit him with the Donnell Jones. When I pulled out the way I want to be, he had to join me on it. You know what I mean? Like, it was like
we ain't battling no more. We just sing it together.
Yeah, it's a truth.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, so we did that event up there. In 30 days, we had full capacity. We was at max capacity. And just to have max capacity in a space like that and have no incidents, like, that was a thing to marvel at. And, like, to the point where I got a lot of feedback. Like, anytime you want to do an event.
Because that's a big thing. So just so people know, listening in for event hosting and all that, not having incidents or any accidents happen at the event, that gives you, like, a lot of leeway, like, because usually people are getting thrown out, kicked out, smoking weed, doing things they're not supposed to do, and that's like every time that happens is like a hit against you as a planner, kind of. So that's fire on your end. And then from there, I feel like it kind of gives you a reputation where the foundation room would want to have you back.
Yeah, so and it was crazy. They definitely wanted to have me back, and big ups to Pills. I know I seem like I'm shouting out everybody, but I like to pay.
You got to.
I like to give credit where credit's due. Like, of course, Pillsbury with Dreamstar Studios. He used to do a thing called Soul Search Wednesdays and Soul Search. And instead of starting something fresh, I seen him along the world, like on his rise and doing different venues and stuff like that. And one time he put me onto my first actual hosting of a showcase.
Okay.
Because I was wanting to promote Surprise, Surprise, and I had him on the soundtrack, him and one of his artists at the time. And he was just like, we was at the studio vibing. He's like, man, I got to find a host for the showcase, blah, blah. I was like, let me host it.
Yeah, you're like, right here.
He was like,
I do it all, duh.
No, but he didn't know that. To that credit, I had never hosted it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
So he was like, you host? I was like,
you're like, I can.
I was like, well, host. I was like, we're introducing, entertaining. I got this, bro.
Yeah.
So he's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hosted one of his Soul Search events, and went on just to host a few more. And so to return the favor to him, I was like, hey, I got this great platform, and instead of doing something from scratch, how about we take Soul Search and bring it over here, kind of refresh it a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And
like
so,
that.
We did. I want to say every other month we had shows.
Okay. Local artists, switching it up.
We had artists come from New York.
Wow.
Artists from all over. It got to the point where we were doing artist release parties.
Okay.
Music release videos and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was dope. It was dope. And then, point in time that we did that for, like I said, about a year.
Okay.
And then I kind of was like, you know what? I want to do something different.
Yeah.
And I had the amicable, kind of put him in a place where if he needed to reach out to people, he can do shows on his own there because he had enough equity just by being there now.
Right.
But he was able to do shows up there if he needed to.
Yeah.
And I still have my platform where I can go in and do stuff. So I created a platform called Talk That Talk.
Hey.
And then the biggest event I did was Battle of the Sexes.
Okay, well, could you tell us a little bit about what that was? And I'm sorry, are these all in the foundation room?
All in the foundation room.
Okay, so that was like your home base of event planning.
That was like...
And this has been what, like for the last 6 years?
Yeah, so I was running events in there from legit 2015 all the way through 2019.
Okay, got you.
And the pandemic.
And then COVID, dun, dun, dun. Every time I have a guest on, it's like, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, COVID. Yeah,
but
COVID.
We coming back now. You already know.
Definitely. So COVID hit. But yeah, what was unique about it, like with Battle of the Sexes, like Talk That Talk was great.
Yeah.
Love it. Kind of give people their platform where they can come up and do the open mic, but we always had the set artists in between there.
Got you.
When I sit here and tell you Battle of the Sexes, like
men versus women, is that what I'm getting from
women.
it? Okay,
men versus women. Like
you asking for some fights though.
We had lineups, like it was, sometimes you have 16 acts.
Oh,
you would have 12 acts. And we would get them in. You had people who would be like, I didn't even want to perform, but now I want to perform.
Is it all R&B?
We had R&B, hip hop mixtures.
Okay, got you.
We heavily R&B.
Would you ever do hip hop versus R&B, or was it just R&B versus R&B?
I don't need to find the right venue for that, but I would love to do that.
Okay, got you.
Because I know like hip hop, great. Love hip hop. It's an extension of R&B music, which, you know what I mean? It's all great. However, I think it takes a little bit more skill when it comes to being an R&B / soul singer.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a little bit more, not too much. However,
different art forms, but different skill levels.
Yeah, because like if your voice cracks, you're done.
Yeah, facts. You got that. You know what I mean? As soon as you go off key just a little bit.
Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So your voice crack as you rap, it could be for the better. You never know.
Right.
But yeah, so we did the Battle of the Sexes. So Battle of the Sexes, first time we did it. Man, it was well received, and we had a great turnout.
Yeah.
But the second time around when we did it, oh man, we had the stack lineup. I had Louis versus Lisa Bello.
Oh shit, you put brother versus sister now. Like, okay, you should do a sibling battle.
Look, we had people battle like to the point where I had an R&B singer who can spit, but she like took it to heart. Like she came, had the look shades, had the flannel, like
prepared.
Where's he at? Where's Andre X, a.k.a. KR from Lawrence, man? Where he at?
Andre X?
Yeah, from
Shout
Lawrence.
out Andre. Yeah, I've had him on the show before.
And she was like, where he at?
She was ready.
I want to see your face. Like, yo, so we're all...
It was like some heated, battling.
We're all cracking up in the crowd. So he shows his face. She's like, yeah.
You
DJ,
the one.
Drop that. She was like, I didn't know how to come. I didn't know if we was going bar for bar. I was ready. She was like, I got my joints and I got bars just in case.
I love that.
But it was the energy. It was
good energy. Yeah, bring that energy.
It was the energy. The promo for it was crazy because, B87, shout out to B87 and the Notorious in the Morning, like they heard about it, and Uncle Al, who's now based out of Orlando.
Hey.
But they was just like, yo, come up here and promote the show because we heard about the first one.
Okay.
So we promoted that, and so it was getting a lot of
even
buzz.
More notoriety around the city.
It was getting a lot of buzz, and so to the point we had spoken word artists. And, so some spoken word artists would come up and challenge me. And, but the biggest, I think the key factors there was Nancia and myself. Yeah. Nancia is a huge. You got to get familiar with Nancia.
Yeah, I clearly do.
Huge. I'm
embarrassed. I'm like, oh shit! If anyone's seen that, my bad, Nancia.
Shout out to Jay Hunt and the whole Smokehouse media team. Nancia, that's sis right there. Nancia is a huge R&B artist from this area, and she does a lot. And I'm definitely gonna get a refill.
You already know.
But she's a huge artist in this area, man. And more importantly, her positivity and uplifting other women who are in the field and the artistry is crazy.
Yo, if that's what she's about, that's what I love to hear. Yeah, so you already know.
She has merchandise called Queen's Gear.
Okay.
Yeah,
we have to talk off camera about that.
We can talk because I saw what was unique about it. She never had hosted, and I brought her onto the platform because we was working on her album called "Heir to the Throne."
Okay.
In which I wrote
fire name.
Yes, in which I wrote 2 songs. Featured on one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we was writing.
Throw that plug in there.
Yeah, you got it.
Shamelessly.
You got it. How to Love. You know what I mean? That's the name of the song. Go look it up. Also wrote Relapse.
Hey.
But now, so we was in the studio doing her project, and I'm doing the artist showcase. And I'm like, you gotta co-host with me. And she's like, what? She's like, co-host? I don't do that.
Right.
I was like, trust me, you're gonna get the bug for it.
Yeah.
you're gonna be a natural, trust me. I was like, follow my lead. And I was like, and midway through, you're not even gonna have to follow my lead. You're just gonna.
It's just about using your personality, really. You know?
And so that's what she did. But there's the showman side of it. So
facts.
When I came out, she came out and she was all cool. I came out with Battle of the Sexes. She was the lead for the women. I was lead for the men. So I had my big wrestling championship belt come up. She was like,
so dramatic.
Yeah, she was like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, what is that?
You're like, yo, we the champs over here.
Yeah, she was like, where's my belt? I was like, nah, you got to get your own.
You got to earn this.
Yeah. So the second time around, after she got the bug, she was telling Hunt, she's like, yo, he had a belt. I want my own belt now. And so when I came, When I came for the second one, she pulled out. She had her own belt, like customized.
That's pink. My type of girl.
Yeah, like pink. I'm like, oh, so
all bedazzled and shit.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. She was like, yeah, you ain't the young.
Love that.
You see, like,
good energy
from the first event to the second event, like how she kind of elevated. And what was more importantly, I told her, I was like, this is gonna help build your stock in a different realm. Right. You know what I mean? Everyone knows you as an artist. You're a dope artist.
Right.
However, you step outside that comfort zone, people see that you're an entertainer and you're able to host. Mm-hmm. Like now, people who may not be familiar with your music and stuff like that, who just need event hosting, they're like, "Whoa, I seen Nancy host. Like, come host this event."
Right.
And now you can introduce people to your music that way as well. You know, and so just kind of trying to elevate. You know what I mean? Entertain, educate, elevate.
Oof, can you say it one more time?
Entertain, educate, elevate. You know what I mean?
It's like my new favorite 3 E's.
Yeah. And so when Nancy is, she took that and ran with it. And so the second event was like was amazing. Like just to capture, lightning in a bottle once is it's remarkable, but twice.
Right.
And it came to the point where, like, after the event, people were like, yo, I would get text messages, emails, Facebook messages, DMs, like, I want to be on the next one. I want to be on the next one. When is the next one?
Well, like we talked about, like organic growth. Like when it's something good, when people see that it's something real and natural and like dope that the city doesn't have, they want to catch on to that too. Yeah. It just like goes like wildfire when it's something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was and so just seeing that, and from there went on to like I said, just finished writing for Nancy's project. We was able to release that and did the Middle East.
Yes, shout out the Middle East.
Yes. So
and then from there, from working at the Foundation Room, like I know now, and you can touch upon it however you want to, but you also started doing kind of like music event planning for like Fenway for games and different like music events. Can you, and actually what I really want to highlight is the fire, and I want to shout you out, congratulations, because it's a first for the city, a first for you, and a first for the nation going forward. They had their first Juneteenth event at Fenway. Oh my gosh, like, yo, that means so much to me, being from this city, that we have finally hosted our first Juneteenth event at our home game, at our home place at Fenway. So
so you know what I mean, in full transparency, I've been working with the Red Sox for over 15 years.
Okay.
I'm in a variety of capacity of roles, and mainly focused on the in-ballpark entertainment aspect of it. And so it was taking over what is known as Jersey Street now, the entertainment. Diversifying the acts there, including students who go to Berkeley. I'm like, hey, you guys are in school, eventually you're gonna want to perform and have to perform. So tapping into that resource, in which, I was recognized and received one of their Abuser Awards. So it's like a Berkeley Urban Service Award.
Wow. Shout out to you.
Thank you. Doing that, and just bringing acts that I feel are dope in a variety of genres, and kind of giving them a platform. No matter their age, sexual orientation, things of that nature. So, but that's been dope. But Juneteenth.
Yo, how did you feel? How did that make you feel being a part of that? Like, I see it. Yo, you're going to have to check out his Instagram, guys. But like, he's on Fenway Park's field on Juneteenth with like the flag behind him, everything, like celebrating that shit, like how we should have been for years. You feel me? So
shout out to the Red Sox just for being receptive to that as well. And huge shout out to Olivia Irving, who, alongside, myself, we planned that whole thing.
Wow.
We had a lot of contributors too. However, our vision for it was, as soon as we heard, like, we're doing Juneteenth, we have a Juneteenth home game, all right, this is what we want to do. And we worked with, their group sales department, Travis Polio to be exact, and it was just like, hey, we seen the year before they did Puerto Rican Heritage, and the line for these customized Puerto Rican Heritage jerseys was ridiculous.
I can imagine.
And it was so unique. Like, everyone's like, you see like the pride coming out from people who, are Puerto Rican descent or who identify as Puerto Rican. It's like, yo.
And like when the city shows that they acknowledge you as a culture, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what brings the people, because it's like we're seeing us represented in our city finally. You know what I mean? Which is huge. Like,
it was dynamic. So Olivia and myself, designed the jerseys, the Juneteenth jerseys.
Way.
So when we looked at it, we was just like, all right, definitely wanted it to be black.
Yeah.
We had a few options in which could have like both landed on the side of dopeness. Like we polled a few people and it didn't make it no better because everyone's like, oh, 50% this way, 50% this way. But we kind of made a joint executive decision. Like we're just gonna go with the all black.
Yeah, and the jerseys were dope, by the way. So yeah,
so it was crazy. It was like all black. Had the gold stitching, outlining for like black excellence. We had the red and green.
Yep.
For the Black History Month colors too, and so it was dope, man. And we to this day we're still getting hit up like, yo, we didn't want to go to the game, we just want to buy a jersey. Can we buy a jersey?
And did you have a good turnout for the event?
We had an amazing turnout.
Yes,
an amazing turnout, and it was something that where the Red Sox, again, kudos to them. We used their brand new 521 overlook space.
Wow. Okay.
And so Olivia and myself, when we thought of the pregame and how we wanted the aspect, we invited people from the Museum of African American History. Which not a lot of people know about. Like I was oblivious to it until earlier this year in January, where I went to an event and Hill Harper was there and Anthony Anderson from Blackish.
What?
Yeah, they were there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And so just chopping it up with them, like
that's
this,
amazing.
Like this casual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like, wow, this is eye opening. We also invited, a few people from Boston Wild Black who just recently did their first summit at the Westin Copley, and they're doing remarkable things. I know they have an upcoming event called the BWB Family Reunion, their second annual one on D. Yeah. Last year turned out about 5,000 black people.
Wow,
yeah, so
that's amazing.
Bigger and better.
Yeah.
We also included Tanisha Sullivan from the NAACP, who's also running for, Secretary of State right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of big names. Do you feel like this might turn into like going forward it being like an annual or a regular thing?
Yeah, it's not a one-time thing.
Okay.
It's not a one-time thing.
I was hoping not, because I really want to make the next one. No.
It's not a one-time thing.
Word.
The one thing I will say is for the first one, and it's crazy, what really brings it all together is, I know Olivia had her post and she was able to touch on it. And for me, like I've been a part of 3 World Series championships.
Wow.
I've been on duck boat parades, all that stuff is just great.
Look at this guy, so humble. Whipping out all his accolades at the end of the show. Okay.
But it's
Can we cheers to that? Cheers to that shit.
But it's great. However, it's to be a part of something that's its first.
Right.
Like I've been a part of Fenway's 100th anniversary.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And seeing that. But this park is 110 years old. And it's never hosted a Juneteenth event. And Juneteenth realistically just became a federal holiday and a state holiday back in 2020 during the pandemic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So to be a part of that, like it's
so
first.
Special.
And the moment that stood out to me, and shout out to Jackie Bradley Jr., who's an outfitter for the Sox as well, because he was on board with a lot of it. We looked up and looked at the 521 perch, and all you see is just black people.
See, like that shit's
like
beautiful,
that to me.
That's a win right there.
Yeah, and then like I look up as Michelle Brooks Thompson, who's a tremendous singer. If you guys should look her up, Michelle Brooks Thompson for sure. Like she's remarkable, but she's singing "Lift Every Voice." And I'm looking at
I feel like I would have been in tears. Like, that's such a...
You know how, like, when you get in trouble in the back of your throat hurt?
Yo, right?
I was like,
push it back.
Not gonna cry. But I was like, this is so beautiful.
Grown men can still cry too, right?
We could, but I was like, in some of those pictures, you see, like, my jawline, like, clenched.
Aww.
I was like, yo, this is so, like, wow. Like, we, as a people, did this.
100%.
You know what I mean? And it was so impactful and powerful, and that's something I will never take for granted, man. Like, people always ask me, like, you've been with the Sox, you work with the Sox. Yeah. What's your greatest moments? And World Series wins are probably, like, 3rd, 4th, 5th on my list.
And this is number 1?
Yeah, this by far jumped to number 1. Yeah, so...
That's amazing. And, I just want to thank you again for bringing that to the city and being involved and being one of the people who created that for us. And going forward, it's going to be something that, like, our kids can go enjoy and see. And, like, it's going to be different for them when they get older. So it's like those are historical moments. And you are part of history. So, shout out to you for that shit.
Yes, thank you.
And, other parts of history as well in the city, you've also been, like, recognized lately for, some of your, like I said, accolades. I don't know if you want to drop. I don't know. You said you could make it exclusive, but I'm not going to make you make it exclusive. But like, if you want to,
I know what you're touching on.
If you want to.
yes. I've been recently approached by In Boston Magazine, and Mike Caputo, definitely good looks, because if anyone doesn't know who Mike Caputo was in the city, you guys are sleeping.
Wake up.
For the simple fact, he does a lot with young artists, especially.
Facts.
Trying to give them and instill knowledge into them and provide them with the proper tools so that they can succeed, on top of touring with LFO and doing a lot of work in production on that side. So Mike called me and he was just like, hey, it's like, I don't think you got your flowers. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you sent me flowers. Like, what are you talking about, Mike? He was like, no. He was like, I want to make sure that you get your just due, because you do a lot for the artists of this city, and you do it without wanting anything in return, and more importantly, you always try to deflect attention away from you. He's like, and I'm not gonna let that happen this time.
Hey.
He's like, I'm with In Boston Magazine, and we're gonna do a story on you.
You heard it here first.
So recently, I want to say a few weeks back, they came out and did some on-site photos when I was at Fenway. They did some photos.
Nice.
And he came on a day. He came on a day where there was close to 200 people down on the field for a pregame ceremony. He was like,
wow.
He's looking around. He was like, that is ridiculous. He was like, ultimately we wanted to try to get some questions.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna happen. But he was like, picking up the content and seeing like you going.
It's a good day for B-roll. you know.
He was like, that was just remarkable, man. He's like, I've come down here, I've seen you like operate in the lesser, but he's like, this is.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you like commanded everybody, so. But yeah, we're gonna be doing an article, and it's gonna be coming up in Boston Magazine. So shout out to In Boston Magazine. And
you do deserve your flowers. I mean, you've been in this game for almost 15 years, like almost 2 decades. Yo, you deserve this, and it's only continuing to grow. And like, if you go look at Jay's page or look at his Instagram, look at the shit he's done, look at his podcast, all the things. Like, we would have a 2-hour podcast if we talked about everything. But there are so many things, and like your growth from when you started out to now, it's just continuing to build and rise. And it's amazing for the city what you're adding to, what we got going forward as entertainers, as artists, as building the culture. And quickly, because I feel like we just had to chop it up about the movie and the music and all that. But a huge part of you also is in the wrestling game and in WWE, and like you went to Wrestlemania in April. Like, you guys would never expect this from Jay, but he's legit like Ric Flair's like fucking BFF. Like,
oh man,
can you just give me a brief like, what is wrestling to you? How did that play into everything, etc.?
Wrestling is ever since I had memories, I remember wrestling. Let's just put it that way.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Even before Stone Cold.
That was my fish's name growing up.
It goes way back, man. Like my love for wrestling, man. Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Rob Van Dam. From the launch of ECW and so on. So with WCW, you got Sting, Luger. You had Harlem Heat, who by far was like my greatest tag team of all time. Then goes to the NWO, of course. And so my love for wrestling kind of just grew from that. And one of my friends came up to me, Luis Vasquez, who is one of my co-hosts on the Unsanctioned Podcast, him and Julio June.
Shout out the Unsanctioned Podcast, a wrestling podcast. If you guys want more info, make sure you check out Jay's page.
We're everywhere except for Spotify. Hey. That's it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so Luis came up to me. He was like, yo, we watch wrestling, we talk wrestling. Why not talk about wrestling?
Exactly.
And I was like, sold. And literally, we started off back in July of 2017. Kind of got the ball rolling, did a couple episodes, and I want to say by our 5th episode, we went viral.
Hey.
Yeah. And
you had wrestlers, like actually interviewing wrestlers on your show and everything.
Yeah, so we knew no one. Like, we didn't know anybody in the industry. We kind of just grassroots everything. Mm-hmm. But one of the wrestlers who, like, growing up that I loved, and I thought he would be a future world champion, his name was Ahmed Johnson.
Okay.
And we had him on for an episode. He was episode 5, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And his comments, the things he was saying, in the wrestling community, is one person that gets it, it's going to flare anywhere.
Yeah.
And so he had some unpleasant things to say about The Rock and a few other people.
Okay. So it kind of built like that audience.
It got to a point where the guest that we wanted to have for episode 5, you know, I won't blast him. He told me no, and
because of the previous comments.
No. I won't blast him. We had initially asked him to be a part of the show.
Okay, gotcha.
And he said he wouldn't do it because he doesn't do podcasts, but he has his own podcast. And,
okay.
You know, and so we left it as is. You know what I
mean? Yeah.
So that's when we got Ahmed on, and Ahmed happened to comment on this said wrestler.
Oh, man.
Because they worked together. For a point in time, and it got to the point where, you know, the guest who we originally wanted on responded on his show. And when that happened, so now we was like, well, where did he say this at on the show? So we're like, we're being quoted, well, not even quoted. Our interview is being referenced in other people's websites and stuff like that. They're not giving us credit. We're reaching out to these people like, hey, make sure you credit Unsanctioned Podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but then we do it on YouTube, and I want to say instantly it brought us up to like 15,000 views. And that's just not even just the audio stream, like just throwing it on YouTube. We didn't even count the audio stream.
That's wild.
Yeah, and so like to this day, like I still get notifications
about that.
Yeah, because we recently just bought the site that actually owned our content.
What? That's huge.
So,
360 again.
Yeah, so we actually now own that YouTube channel that housed a lot of our earlier episodes.
Okay.
And so we it's great, you know what I mean? Come full circle.
And then full circle, you're at Wrestlemania in April, and it's like you're with like stars and taking pictures with all these people. It's like,
the greatest moment about that. So even before Wrestlemania, shout out to Kevin Sullivan for anyone who's big in wrestling. He goes by the Taskmaster. We had him on the show. Mm-hmm. He loved our show so much. He was like, "You guys are the best podcast I've ever had." He was like, "And I do my own podcast." And he's like, I want you guys. Real. He's like, I want you guys to go to this event in Chicago called All Out. And at the time, All Out was sold out in 29 minutes. It was 5 wrestlers who came together, put their money up. They got a venue and put together their own wrestling show. First time that's ever really happened.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, cool. Like, flew us out.
Right.
Got us tickets. Like, we're sitting there eating dinner with the original 4 horsemen, like Tully Blanchard. And
what the fuck?
Magnum TA. And like, I'm sitting there like, and you wanted to guess that heard our podcast and heard what other people said about this, so we get the dirty look, but then they're like...
Yeah.
But the...
Love comes with hate, you know?
Yeah, but the coolest moment out of all that is, is we had these guys go by What Culture Wrestling, and they're based out of the UK, and they have like 1 million subscribers and stuff.
Oh.
And they heard the name of our podcast, stopped what they were doing, was like, we loved your Ahmed Johnson interview.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was
that's
like,
big.
So they was like, we want to follow you, we want to keep up to date with you guys, like so on and so forth. And we stay in contact with them. I just recently seen them out at Wrestlemania in Dallas, and they was like, Jay.
Yeah.
I was like, Simon. But yeah, that was like awesome. But yeah, I went to Wrestlemania.
That's kind of like a childhood dream for you, like
I never,
locked in. You feel me?
Luis had went to Wrestlemania, I want to say 2 or 3 years before, where he witnessed Kofi Kingston, who's from Massachusetts, become the first African-born, WWE champion. Yeah. So that's history in its own right. You know what I mean? And so we seen Big E do it here in Boston recently. But I went to this WrestleMania, and it was like I'm in like partners meetings, and I'm like, oh, that's Johnny. Me and Johnny Knoxville just ordered from the same bar.
Just chilling. No big deal.
What's up, Johnny? So
that's
all
wild.
the celebrities in there, like, but some of the wrestlers who we were able to have on in their earlier phases when they was in the indies and working for like promotions like Evolve, shout out to Gabe, but like Evolve and stuff like that, they would remember me and they would come up like, oh shit, what are you doing here, man? Like, I'm like, yo, what are you doing here? We laugh with it because it's so funny. Like one of their biggest stars, right, up and coming stars, his name is Theory. Back then he went by Austin Theory. He's the current United States champion and handpicked by Vince McMahon, like doing promos and on camera stuff with him.
Wow. And
so I see him, and he's playing pool, and they were staying at the Omni. I come around the corner with a drink. He throws a pool stick down. He was like, dude, like, he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, yeah, I'm out here for WrestleMania, kind of,
back again.
Yeah, like, he's like, you podcast? I was like, nah, this is business. He kind of looked at me, because I had told him what I wanted to do beforehand. He was like, oh, it's close to happening? I was like, I don't know, we'll see.
You're like, we'll see. Keep that under wraps, but
Yeah. But and he introduced me to like Ezekiel Elliott, who's the running back for the Cowboys.
Wow.
And I'm like,
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of those guys who you interview on the way up and that you meet.
And it's cool because like wrestling's kind of like a lost art form in a way nowadays. So the fact that you can incorporate like wrestling into like your event planning and your podcasting and your media, what you're doing and taking things that you love and making that a career, that's kind of the goal. And that's like as artists, the main thing that we can work for is like making a career out of our art. So I just want to again give you your flowers, shout you out.
Thank you. I want to give you your flowers. Time out.
Oh, stop.
We got to give you your flowers. Like, I appreciate all the love, and however, what you're doing is remarkable.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not only sharing your platform with others who are trying to ascend, but you're doing it in a way that there's no blueprint for. You are creating the blueprint.
Facts.
So you are the originator.
Facts.
And when you are an originator, you are then setting the trend that others can follow. And that's what makes you so unique. So shout out to you.
Shout out to both of us. You already know. Yo, I love that. When you're creating the blueprint, like there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just to keep doing it, to remain consistent, to be dedicated to that art form, whatever it may be, whether it's wrestling, podcasting, hosting, event planning, whatever it is, like you can create your own lane. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to follow other people. You don't have to be a sheep. You can make the path. And I think that's, you know, a big reason I wanted to have you on the show, Jay, is because you've created your own path to where you're at now, just like I'm trying to do my own. And, you know, based off the name Old Soul Young World, you know, it's something, you know,
I'm very old soul.
So, all right, you can just answer my next question, Jay. What does it mean to you, whoever you are, Jay, whatever you've been through, wherever you come from, what does it mean to you to be an old soul in the young world, or just an old soul at all?
I think knowing where you've come from, even though you've never been there.
That's fire.
You know what I mean? And it's like when you have that ability, like I said, my passion for music started with my mom's. You know what I mean? Playing all those classic records, in which I used to be like, I can't stand. And I would mimic, like, when I would hear, I want to go outside in the rain. Yes, I want to go outside in the rain to get away from this music. You know, like, you know, but it's like being able to tap into something that you've never physically touched. I mean, sometimes never even, you know, was able to hear.
Yeah.
But know that there's a connection there.
Yeah.
And bring it to today's time.
Yes.
And connect it with the next generation. To me, that is what it means to be an old soul in a young world.
Hey!
You know,
We love that. We love that. And it's so facts, because it's like when it's something you can't touch, when it's intangible, when it's just an idea in your head, and, you know, you could say it to 500 people and they'd think you sound crazy because it's this idea that maybe nobody else has ever had or thought no one else has had. But when you can, you know, lay that idea down as the blueprint, when you can start showing people what it is and being an example of an old soul, of carrying through that R&B culture, that old school culture, that knowledge, passing it down to other generations so that hopefully they can take it and do the same. Yo, we're already winning, and we're trying to make Boston a better place just by doing that. So Jay, can you please let the people know where they can find you, where they can check you out on all social media platforms?
Man. Across all social media, you can follow me at Connoisseur 781. So that's CONNOISSEUR 781 across social media platforms.
And everybody who's tuning in, please make sure you check Jay out. He has so much to offer, so much he's doing for the city, so much that's going to be coming going forward. And, you know, like he just said, he's a connoisseur, somebody who does many things, is an expert at many things, wears many hats. If you want to check out and learn how to do that, you know, Jay is a good person to be catch as an example. Myself or many other artists in the city who are also trying to come up and do other things. And I think we said it at the beginning of the show, but it was the 3 E's.
Yes.
Could you tell people 3 E's again?
3 E's, man. Entertain, educate, and elevate.
Hey!
Yes.
There's no better way to end the show than to entertain, educate, and elevate yourself. Make sure you do that every day, every week, every time you wake up. Be like, yo, what can I do today that's gonna make me a better person? What can I do today that's gonna make me follow my dreams? What can I do today that's gonna make that blueprint for the future? Make sure you think about that, and make sure you tune in with me again next week here on Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jayocity.
Young world, young world.
Ooh.
Young world.
Okay.
Young world.